In this assignment, you're going to analyze a short story. If you haven't done this before, you have to study the instructions very carefully. So first you go to this one, how to analyze a short story. There are different elements that you have to write about when you analyze a story. And here you get a short description. The setting is, of course, important, where and when it takes place. Sometimes it's very clear when and where it is, and sometimes you just have to guess. But often you get clues to make a good guess. So it's important that you find examples in the text that can support your guess if it's not clear. For example, what kind of clothes do they wear? Are there any modern technology? What language do they speak? What do they look like? So try to consider different things like that. The characters are, of course, important, and you should describe the most important characters. Usually there aren't so many. So focus on one or two characters that are the main ones. And try to describe if there are static or flat, that or dynamic or round. That means, do they change anything? Are they like problematic? Do they seem like real people? The plot is what goes on in the short story, and try to decide what is the most important event, and is it structured in a linear or non-linear way? Does it jump from in time? And do you think the plot is believable? And then try to argue why or why not. The narrator could sometimes be important to say something about, but it's not the most important thing. The conflict is very important, and there is always a conflict in a short story. It could be internal, that is in the person's mind when he or she is trying to decide something, or it could be external, that is like a conflict between two people, or something happens to a person in the short story. And often there are many conflicts in a story, and then you have to choose the one that's most important. There is often a climax in a short story when something like big happens, and there is often a turning point at that time. So try to decide when this takes place and what happens. The most difficult element is perhaps theme, to try to decide what is it mainly about. Is it about love or jealousy or something like that? And why do you think it is about that? And there could be many themes, of course. So even though this is a difficult one, you should always take a guess and try to base your guess on things from the text. Now it's important, try to use the different names of the elements when you write the analysis. And it doesn't matter when you use them, but try to make a good structure in the text. Don't use the headings that you have here, but check the instructions so that you remember to use all of them. And there is an example here, and you should know that this is a student who knows and has read something about the author and the short story. And of course, that's not always the case, and especially when you do the test. But it's an example of how it could be written. So your assignment is to first make a short story analysis of Ernest Hemingway's Indian Camp. So you read that below here, and then you write your short story analysis. After that, you go and look at this one, student examples, both good and bad. And then if you find any good ideas, then you try to use that, but write it in your own words to improve your analysis. Then you send it in and you get feedback, but not a grade. And you try to use that feedback when you do the test on a story that you don't know anything about. But then you can show what you have learned. So good luck.